Hi. So we're live. Hi there. I'm Jeremy Nichols. I'm the Climate and Energy Program Director for Wild Earth Guardians, and I have with me here.
Micah Parkin. I'm Executive Director of 350 Colorado.
So we're doing our weekly Facebook Live events, which we bill as an Ask Me Anything type event. We encourage interaction, want folks to bring questions, bring comments, and learn more about what Wild Earth Guardians Climate and Energy Program is up to. This is, I think, our fifth episode now. We've been doing this for 5 weeks now in a row, and we've been having a ton of fun. If you haven't tuned in yet, please do on the Wild Earth Guardians Facebook page. Just facebook.com/Wild Earth Guardians. You can tune into our live events every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. And so far, we've covered a lot of different subjects. Our campaign to defend clean air from fracking in Colorado, our efforts to keep fossil fuels in the ground on our public lands, fighting public lands fracking, protecting Greater Chaco, and confronting coal in the Powder River Basin. And today, we wanted to talk about climate strike. Climate strike actions are happening all around the world over the next week and a half or so. Mm-hmm. And here in Colorado, I'm actually at Micah's house in Boulder, Colorado today. Here in Colorado, there's going to be a lot going on. And so we thought it would be great to check in with Micah in 350 Colorado to see what's the deal, what can people do to engage and make a difference, and what do we hope to accomplish over the next week and a half or so. So thank you so much for joining us today. I guess let's just get into it, Micah. One of the things, I guess let's start from the start. This whole idea of climate strikes. What's going on here? Where did this all come from? And why are we looking to next week, or I guess starting this Friday? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, so this all started basically with a young woman named Greta Thunberg. She's Swedish, and she is 15 years old, or maybe she just turned 16 actually recently. She started doing climate strikes outside of the Swedish parliament because she basically was saying, why should I go to school and be part of this system if the planet that we live on is falling apart? And so she started striking in front of there, and she basically kicked off a worldwide phenomenon of youth climate strikers all around the world, students saying, you know, what kind of future do we have, and why should we bother to go to school, and if we're not going to have a planet that can sustain life as we know it.
Yeah.
And so they started doing something they called it Fridays for Future, and so they were striking on Fridays. Many youth have been striking every single Friday since this all
already
launched.
This has been going on. So climate strikes,
like a year and a half.
They're already happening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So they've been happening, and then so what happened, and what kicked off this Climate Strike Action Week that's happening around the world again is the youth basically put out a call late last spring, and asked adults to join them in the global climate strike on September 20th through the 27th, this week of or actually 29th. There are actions happening all the way through the 29th. They've asked adults to join them in solidarity, basically, and have a multi-generational strike. So they're saying, adults, like, we've been striking from school. We need you to also strike from work, strike from whatever it is that you do in your regular day, and come out and show your support and show that you're with us, basically. And so there are just dozens and dozens and dozens of different organizations all across the world, and institutions, and cities, and different people who have been putting out proclamations of support for the climate strikes, and even giving permission for their workers to strike with them. Groups like Patagonia and
is that
Lush.
is that really a strike if you're given permission?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But some of the institutions are like, you know what, we care about this, and we want our employees to feel fully supported. And then there are schools that are even saying, if your parents permit it, we will even excuse your absence and things like that. And so
I heard about that.
for the youth, which is fabulous to have that level of support. So different organizations and people all around the world have come together to strike, and the big strike day that most of the groups are doing together is going to be this coming Friday, September 20th, and
so they're 2 days from now.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so there are going to be different strike actions happening around the world on that particular day. And here in Colorado, there are a bunch of different strikes happening all around the state, with a primary strike happening in Denver, and it's student-led, a bunch of different youth, just individuals that are at the high school and college level, and even some youth organizations like International Indigenous Youth Council and Earth Guardians and Sunrise. They're all pitching in together and leading the strike action this Friday. And adult groups like 350 Colorado and other adult groups have been pitching in support and helping them and acting kind of as mentors for the day of action.
And it's so great, just what everybody is doing. I mean, I feel like, we're trying to do what we can to support it, but oh my God, the heavy lifting that groups like 350 Colorado are doing, I mean, it's so awe-inspiring. So we are so excited to be able to lend support to the events on Friday. What time do things start in Denver on Friday, and where?
Yeah. So we're asking everybody to meet up at 11:30, is it? Or 11 o'clock? I better double check that. I think we're supposed to be there at 11. But anyway, 11:30 is when things really kick off. So I better double check it. But yeah, so that's show up at Union Station 11:30, and they're going to be speakers talking, and then the march will actually start. And so Union Station, everybody probably knows that's the big central transportation hub, and so you can catch a bus there. It's real easy to get to through public transportation, and then basically from there we will have a march that will go up the 16th Street Mall as people are taking their lunch breaks basically around noon, and to the Capitol. And there on the steps of the Capitol will be a big youth-led rally with a lot of different speakers and music and just some really cool stuff happening.
So if you can come to Denver on Friday, awesome. It's going to be huge. But as Micah said, there's events happening all over the state of Colorado over the next 7 to 9 days. Micah, where can people go online to learn more about events happening potentially in their communities?
Yeah, so if you happen to be looking at this outside of Colorado by any chance, just go to Strike With Us is a good place to look.
Strike With Us.
Yeah, Google that, okay. Or Climate Strikes. Any of those Google words will help you find the strikes for national.
Because these are happening all over, and I know Wild Earth Guardians is supporting efforts or climate strike efforts in Albuquerque and New Mexico over the next week or so. So wherever you're at, find a strike and get involved, get engaged. And for Colorado folks, we have
a website for Colorado. So if you're in Colorado, we have created a website because we knew there was going to be a lot of activity here. So we figured we should put together a website for that. So it's climatestrikeactionweek.co. Again, that's climatestrikeactionweek.co. And you can find all of the different events that are happening and ways to get prepared and resources, and there are nonviolent direct action trainings that are happening. There's one this Saturday happening at 9 a.m. at the Broomfield Community Center. If you've never done a nonviolent direct action training, it's a fabulous time to get involved and get trained. And so that's going to be happening this Saturday. That's on there. And some of the other ways to get prepared, like with art builds, there's Patagonia and Boulder's hosting an art build on Thursday afternoon. There's going to be another art build this Sunday that I'm hosting actually here in Boulder. And there are other things happening to help get prepared there. You can also see the youth art. Youth submitted their artwork that we're going to be blowing up into posters and banners for the climate strike, and so you can check that out on the website. But when you go to the website, you'll see you can either scroll down or hit one of the tabs at the top, and it has this International Day of Climate Strikes, which is Friday. On the left-hand side down here, you can click on that to find a strike near you, or the Week of Escalated Actions. And so basically, or you can click Join Us at the top tab. That will also take you to this page. And so it tells you about the Denver strike. And yes, it's 11 a.m. Be there at 11 a.m., not 11:30.
Show up when you can, really. If you can't get there at 11, just show up. You'll see the masses. You'll see the people out there.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And then if you scroll on down, and there are also all the other strikes happening in Colorado. I think most to all of them are listed, and there are 8 or 9 different places that have strikes happening besides Denver.
So all over, even on the western slope, Grand Junction, Carbondale, Paonia, Durango, all along the Front Range, Steamboat. So if you're in Colorado, you should be out striking on Friday. You will be able to find something to plug into. So definitely check it out.
And then if you scroll on down, you'll see the whole week of escalated actions. And I know there are some actions that haven't even been added yet. There are going to be light projection actions that are happening associated with every single not every single action, with about half of the actions. We'll have light projections happening that evening, which will be really fun, and they're inviting people to come out for for little gatherings, fun parties around that. But yeah, so I'll just run through it if that's okay, Jeremy. Some of what's happening.
It would be great. Yeah.
So all week long on the 16th Street Mall in Denver, there is an art display, a red and black dress project standing in solidarity with missing and murdered Indigenous women and children event. And so the dresses are representing Indigenous women and also Black women and migrant women who have been who are missing or murdered or are being harmed by the current political system, which is if the connection piece basically for folks to understand about this and what we'll be educating people about. There's going to be a walking tour on Tuesday afternoon about this. If you want to go, you can RSVP for that, which is this Tuesday. There at the bottom, but it's basically to connect the dots between how Indigenous communities and communities of color are being particularly impacted by, for example, the man camps around a lot of the fracking projects. Women, Indigenous women in particular, are going missing and being murdered at a really high rate around those man camps that are around fracking sites and also the tar sands oil projects in Canada. And so it will bring some of the attention to that, and also how the connection between migrants and how a lot of the migrants are actually climate refugees who are coming from countries that no longer are able to farm because climate change has changed weather patterns and is causing desertification in many places around the world. And so people are losing their farms and they're moving because they have to, because they can no longer sustain themselves, and then they're running into ice camps when they arrive in Colorado, and that's in the United States.
Yeah, so they're called migrants, but really they're climate refugees.
Exactly.
And they're seeking support. They're seeking survival, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that project is going to be a very powerful project. And again, the Denver Arts Commission is permitting the dresses to be there along with informational stickers all week long, so you can go at any time to go and see them and see the signs that will be up with them. But if you want a walking tour, that'll be Tuesday, and you can RSVP for it. On Saturday, there's going to be a climate crisis teach-in, and you can either attend in Boulder at Unity of Boulder Church, or you can watch online. There's going to be a live stream of that, so you can watch from afar if you're not in this area.
And if you're just joining us too, the website, we're looking at climatestrikeactionweek.co, so that's climatestrikeactionweek.co, and this is the events page. So we're just going through what's happening in Colorado over the next 9 days of Climate Strike Action.
So yeah, that'll be the climate crisis online teach-in Saturday. And then Sunday there's a day of faith action. So different churches are going on strike during their church services and having their congregations to, they'll be doing different things, the churches that are participating, but basically highlighting the moral imperative to answer the youth call and to show up for youth around the climate crisis.
Yeah.
And the need to be stewards of our planet. And so you can contact, if you want more information about that, to do this at your church, you can contact Peter Sawtell of Eco Justice Ministries, and there's a link on the website again that you can click on to get more information with ideas of how your congregation could participate on Sunday. Monday is Extinction Rebellion's Mass Day of Civil Disobedience, and so there will be 2 different actions happening that day led by Extinction Rebellion that's going to be focusing on climate and vulnerable populations that are being heavily impacted by the climate crisis, so that people can participate in.
So that's going to be cool. That's going to be high energy that day, right? And it is civil disobedience, so people should be aware of the risks, but also the rewards. I mean, this is a big deal, and it's our opportunity to make a stand in a very visible and impactful way.
Absolutely. And then on Wednesday is the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission hearing. At the launch of that, right before the hearing starts at 8:30, there's going to be a youth press conference and rally. And so we invite people to come out, to come and hear the youth speak about how their top line messaging. And one of the demands, I'll just say, for the whole week of action that the youth are calling on is for an end to the no more fossil fuel infrastructure, basically, and that we listening to the scientists around the world. They're saying we don't have another 50 to 100 years to solve this problem. It has to be solved very rapidly, and that means beginning the transition right now off of fossil fuels, which means that here in Colorado, our continued permitting of fracking is not acceptable. That we have to start now with phasing off out permitting of fossil fuel projects, including fracking for oil and gas, because if you look at some of the science that's coming out from NASA and also Harvard and Cornell University, they're saying that the huge spike in methane emissions that we've been seeing over the last decade is very clearly linked to fracking in the United States. And there has been a very frightening spike in methane emissions, and I'm sure all of you listening know that methane is one of the most powerful greenhouse gases. So to see a spike at a time when we need to be bringing down greenhouse gas emissions rapidly is very frightening. So it is completely inconsistent for our state and our governor to be saying that we need to be that, you know, we're going to be a leader on climate change and at the same time continue to permit more oil and gas development in Colorado is completely inconsistent. And so on that Wednesday action, the youth will be talking about that, and their top line message is stop fracking our future. And so and then there will be, so people can come out and be part of that 8:30 right in front of the COGCC hearing location.
And it's going to be in Thornton, Colorado, so just a suburb north of Denver. The address is on the website, the climatestrikeactionweek.co website. But absolutely, you know, we obviously can't frack our way to a safe climate. And
absolutely
all
not.
All the science,
totally inconsistent.
The science confirms that, but more importantly, the reality confirms that. You look at the amount of greenhouse gas emissions of climate pollution associated with fracking, and it's off the charts. And so, now's the time. It's so great to have the youth out there calling on the governor to help Colorado in particular lead the way in transitioning from oil and gas. And we'll circle back to that too, because that's actually kind of the one of the big messages that I think people really want to convey to the governor here in Colorado, that you know, we cannot continue to frack, and we can't continue producing oil and gas, while at the same time saying we care about the climate and want to do something about it.
Doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up at all. No. So let's circle back to that. There's some other events coming up too?
Okay, so that's Wednesday, and then of course there's the actual hearing, and we would encourage everybody who is concerned about fracking to testify at the hearing. You just sign up. You can either sign up online on the COGCC website, or you can sign up, I believe, that morning as well. So show up if you want to hear the youth press conference, and then testify. So 8:30 again, and then the hearing starts at 9 o'clock. And so then on Thursday, there are two different very cool actions happening. The city of Boulder, if you're in Boulder, the city of Boulder has listened to the science and heard the calls from the last International Panel on Climate Change report last fall that said that, you know, actually we have to transition at least half of our greenhouse gas emissions. We have to reduce that in the next 12 years, they said. And so now another year has passed, and so the city has really it's revising its climate mobilization action plan, and that night will kick off the climate action mobilization plan, and people are invited to come and hear the different ways that they can be involved, because the city wants the community to be part of that process. And we're going to be leading a section, 350 Colorado's leading a section on climate finance, realizing that how we invest our money as individuals and as cities and institutions, it can be feeding the climate crisis by funding people like JP Morgan Chase, which is the #1 funder of fossil fuels on the planet, or we can be part of the solution. And so if you're in Boulder, I encourage you to come out, hear about it, and consider getting involved with one of the teams. If you're not in Boulder, there is a Suncor action that is happening that evening at the same time. It's going to start at 5:30. And Suncor, for anybody who doesn't know, is that really smelly,
stinky,
horrific,
ugly, horrific,
Mordor-looking tar sands oil refinery. It's a Canadian company, Suncor, that has largely been extracting and burning tar sands oil, which is one of the absolute nastiest, right up there with fracking, maybe even worse if that's possible, forms of oil that we can extract. It's really scraping the bottom of the barrel, taking these sands with oil sludge, and processing it. And so that Denver plant, Suncor, has been processing tar sands oil and other types of oil, including fracked oil, and polluting the community there for years and years and years. And so the community is rising up, basically, and several of our groups are all supporting, and there's going to be this action. It's going to be a really fun community action with some amazing music and food. Incredible mariachi band with youth singers is going to be there, and delicious food that's going to be provided, and dancers, and it's going to be a super fun community event there in Commerce City,
Okay.
near the Suncor tar sands oil refinery. And so we're encouraging people to come out for that and be part of that action too.
Yeah, that's so cool. The Suncor oil refinery, it's in North Denver. We say it's technically in Commerce City, but if you ever gone through North Denver in that area, you've definitely seen it. You've probably smelled it. You've probably seen it. Yeah, absolute climate and clean air nightmare that unfolds on a daily basis.
Poisoning that community with arsenic and
cyanide
and all sorts of horrific poisons.
Wild Earth Guardians has actually been digging into their air quality compliance, and it's horrible. If they their rap sheet right now is so long, and what happens is their equipment constantly breaks down and they emit illegal amounts of air pollution. But rather than upgrade the equipment and actually get to the root of the problem, they just try to claim exemptions. And on a near daily basis, they get away with that. So it's so great to see people rising up finally and confronting that fossil fuel nightmare. And it sounds like it'll be a lot of fun too next week.
I think so. And one of the big calls too around that action and other actions that week is a transition for the workers, because a lot of the community works at the Suncor refinery, and so we really need for our governmental officials to be stepping up and also helping to work out transition plans for workers, realizing that, you know, at this time of climate crisis on our planet, we have to be moving beyond all fossil fuels, but we need a plan for workers. We can't just leave people in the lurch, and so that we really need that support to step up and support the transition. And you know, it's funny, one of the community organizers there has a vision for like a wind manufacturing plant in the place of Suncor, and so that positive vision for the workers and for the community where they're not being poisoned by what's happening there is really, I think, a beautiful vision.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's great.
So that will be happening, and then on Saturday, it's not listed on this page, but it's on the Get Ready to Strike page. There will be another NVDA training, and then on Sunday there is the final action, which is a Stop Fracking Our Future action that is going to be held in Broomfield at a park there right by a frack site, basically, that the community there has been fighting for a long time and saying no, they didn't want it this close to them. It's only about 1,000 feet from houses and very close to schools.
Well, it's right in their open space too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's already poisoning the community. People are already getting horrific headaches and nosebleeds and hair falling out and really horrible things happening to the community there. So I think we really need, even though it's in Broomfield, we're going to be inviting people that are part of groups all around the state who are fighting fracking in their own backyards to come, and they're going to have speakers from different groups, speakers from that community. There will be really fun activities going on. We have the amazing Tierra with Bridget Law of Elephant Revival band, the trio performing, and they're amazing. They've played at Red Rocks, and they're just an incredible band happening. Kids activities, food, and also a community garden building that people can take part in that day, and if they wish. And so it's kind of a rogue garden, so to speak, but we invite people to take part in that day and show the kind of positive alternate vision of the future that we do want to see in our communities, instead of the things like fracking and tar sands oil refining that we don't want.
It's so great. And I see on here that maybe some more details around that Sunday, September 29th event are forthcoming, so stay tuned there. I think things are still coming together.
It'll be 4 to 7 p.m.
4 to 7? Okay, great.
And the location and everything is listed. If you click the sign up here, click here to sign up, then it'll give you the location. But yeah, it's in a park there by the Sienna Reservoir, there in Broomfield. So
and this is so important. I mean, it's a Broomfield issue, but really, I mean, what's happening in Broomfield is just so indicative and symbolic of what we're all facing right now, which is the oil and gas industry encroaching into our lives, into our communities, and forcing us to have to endure the costs of oil and gas extraction. And in Broomfield right now, they've got a rig that's up right in the middle of the community. It's spewing out emissions, toxic emissions. It's right in there where kids play. There's a soccer field right nearby where the rig is. And so it'll be so great to have people come out and take a stand.
Show solidarity.
Show solidarity for Broomfield, but also for anyone who's impacted by fracking. And you don't have we all are. You don't have to have a rig in your backyard. You know, here in Colorado, the industry, the oil and gas industry, is actually one of the biggest contributors to our smog problem.
That's right.
And so, you know, we're breathing their mess. Even if we don't have a rig in our backyard, for those of us living in the Colorado Front Range, the Denver metro area, Fort Collins, we're breathing it. So the industry is impacting us, and so it'll be so great to have people come out on that 29th.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people don't even realize. People think we have like fresh mountain air. It's kind of what I thought when I moved here from New Orleans 12 years ago, and but we have F air quality. We're graded grade F by the American Lung Association because of our high levels of smog. We actually had a day a few months back where Denver apparently had 3 times the smog and poor air quality than Beijing. 3 times worse, which is really frightening that we're breathing that, and our children are getting asthma and other impacts because of that. And so, you know, the F air quality we're all being impacted by, and of course climate change, where everybody, I mean, I moved here from New Orleans like looking for a safer place, and
which knows a thing or two about the impacts of climate change.
But sadly, you know, Colorado has a lot of our own impacts from desertification and drought to the crazy floods that we've been having, to the wildfires and the pine beetle epidemic that's destroying our forests, and all of the above that's affecting our quality of life, and also, you know, our crop production and our health and safety. So, you know, oil and gas development and fossil fuel production is affecting us all.
And so that gets kind of back to the real imperative here. You know, for those of us in Colorado, but for a lot of people around the world, it's demanding this transition away from fossil fuels, and now. I know yesterday the Denver Weekly newspaper called Westward came out with a news story basically raising that issue. Like, how can Colorado say that it's serious about confronting climate change while it's condoning an unprecedented fracking boom? And how can Governor Jared Polis here in Colorado say with a straight face that he cares about the climate, but then allow his oil and gas regulators to continue rubber stamping fracking permits? So I think the call for transition is going to be very high and very clearly conveyed over the next week or so.
Absolutely.
And 350 Colorado is definitely at the forefront in demanding that the governor be accountable. I know Deb McNamara, your campaign coordinator, was quoted in that story. You should read that story if you haven't already.
Excellent story from Westward, Chase Woodruff.
Chase Woodruff, excellent reporter, and who's really trying to find some sense in the politics around climate change here in Colorado, which, you know, a lot of elected officials here talk a good talk, but when it comes to walking the walk, refuse to do the right thing, and refuse to acknowledge the reality that we cannot frack our way to a safe climate.
Absolutely not. It's completely, you know, in contradiction. Not only from the methane emissions that are coming off when the production of it, but of course when the oil and gas is burned,
huge amounts of carbon,
huge amounts of CO2, and so it's from start to finish, it is bad news. And sadly, those companies are in really dire financial straits, and a lot of them around around the North America are going bankrupt and leaving the communities also with these toxic messes all over the place to be able to have to clean up. And it is incredibly expensive to have to recap those wells and to contain that toxic nightmare. And so that's also something that we have to be thinking about and looking out for our communities around too, is what we're being left to have to clean up after these the fracking CEOs make their money. You know, our communities will be left cleaning up the mess, and it's not right in lots of ways, cleaning up the mess.
Well, and we're already cleaning up their mess in a lot of ways right now and trying to curb greenhouse gas emissions. And if we can't transition, if we can't start keeping fossil fuels in the ground, then the mess is only going to get exponentially worse. So this has been so great today, Micah. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure, and thanks for all the incredible work Wild Earth Guardians is doing on so many levels and so many issues. I know everybody appreciates the work y'all do.
It's great to coordinate. You know, every group out there that's on the front lines is playing a very important role. 350 Colorado, Colorado Rising, Wild Earth Guardians, many other community organizations too. Like, it's all hands on deck, right?
Absolutely.
And so so if you get involved, if you can, go to 350 Colorado's website, you know, follow them on social media. It's just 350 Colorado. Follow Wild Earth Guardians on social media, and the Climate Energy Program is follow us at Climate West. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Climate West. Follow us, follow 350, follow Colorado Rising. They're a great partner too. Follow anybody who is on the front lines and stay plugged in. stay plugged in, stay engaged. If you can't show up, don't worry, that's fine. Send a letter, make a phone call the governor's office, mention the governor on social media. We need everybody to be speaking out any way they can. So with this week of Climate Strike Action, I hope that people see it. If people have been worried about stepping out too much or feeling like, well, I don't know if I want to go to that hearing, get over it. It's time to strike. It is absolutely time to strike. We're all going to be together. We're all going to be out there. So let's make it happen. Let's make it real.
Absolutely. And just to underline too that the Climate Strike Action Week is a lot of different organizations. 350's helping to lead the efforts, but there are so many different groups that are pitching in and part of it. And so we're so grateful to all the partner organizations who are bringing this Action Week to reality and making it an amazing time to come together and to support the youth call for solidarity.
So thank you to all our partners. Thanks to everybody. So in Colorado, climatestrikeactionweek.co. Go check out that website, and feel free to contact us with any questions and any comments, concerns, feedback. We want to hear from people. So
and if you want to volunteer too, by the way, for any of these actions, we're definitely still looking for lots of volunteers to make it an amazing week of action. And you can just you can email volunteer@350colorado.org. Again, that's volunteer@350colorado.org, and Amy will help plug you in to whichever action you want to be involved in.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Micah, and thanks to you all for tuning in today, and tune in next week. We'll check in again, and I think we're going to be talking about efforts to protect health and the environment from oil and gas here in Colorado, because with that Oil and Gas Conservation Commission meeting, we feel like there will be a lot to talk about. So
definitely.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks
See ya.
for having me.
Yeah.